Clearance delivery American 771 ISR to DFW, ready to copy.
American 771 is cleared to DFW Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 23 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 127.57 squawk 0366.
American 771 cleared to DFW Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 23 climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure on 127.57 squawk 0366.
American 771 read back correct. Contact ground on 119.1.
Toronto ground American 771 requesting pushback.
American 771 pushback. Request accepted.
Toronto ground generic Alpha Lima 771 taxi to the gate.
Generic Alpha Lima 771 taxi to gate 87 using taxiway Alpha Mike.
Taxiing to gate 87 using taxiway Alpha Mike generic 771.
Toronto ground American 771 with Gulf ready to taxi IFR.
American 771 taxi to and hold short of runway 23 using taxiway Alpha Tango Alpha Hotel Quebec. Contact tower on 118.3, flight when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 23 via taxiway Alpha Tango Alpha Hotel, Quebec American 771. American 771 ready for IFR departure runway 23.
American 771 cleared for takeoff runway 23.
Cleared for takeoff runway 23 American 771. Departure American 771 is climbing through 1,800 feet for 6,000 feet.
American 771 departure continued in MK as planned. Altimeter 30.24. Contact Toronto Center on 128.275.
128.275 for American 771. Toronto Center American 771 is climbing through 9,300 feet for 16,000 feet.
American 771 Toronto Center, continue to NEMC as planned. Altimeter 30.20. American 771 climb and maintain flight level 300.
Climb and maintain flight level 300 American 771.
American 771, contact Toronto Center on 135.3.
135.3 for American 771. Center, American 771 is at flight level 270, climbing flight level 300.
American 771 Toronto Center, continue to near this plan. American 771 climb and maintain flight level 360. Generic 7 Tango Kilo contact Toronto Center on 128.275.
Climb and maintain flight level 360, American 771.
128.275 generic 7 Tango Kilo. Toronto Center, generic Alpha Lima 258 is out of flight level 355 for 10,000 feet. Generic Alpha Lima 258 Toronto Center, continue as planned. American 771 climb and maintain flight level 380.
Climb and maintain flight level 380, American 771.
Envoy 409 retreat contact Toronto Center on 134.375.
.375 for Envoy 409 retreat.
We have...
American 771, please expedite your climb to flight level 380. American 771, please expedite your climb to flight level 380. American 771, please expedite your climb to flight level 380. American 771, contact Toronto Center on 134.375.
Going to 134.375 American 771. Toronto Center American 771 flight level 380.
American 771 Toronto Center, continue to land as planned. American 771 contact Cleveland Center on 132.25.
Going to 132.25 American 771. Cleveland Center American 771 is out of flight level 390 for flight level 380.
American 771, Cleveland Center, continue to land as planned.
Cleveland Center, American 771. Request flight level 430.
American 771, climb and maintain flight level 430.
Climbed and maintain flight level 430 American 771.
American 771, contact Cleveland Center on 127.3.
127.3 American 771. Cleveland Center American
We have 7 very special guests today to fly with me.
Hey girl, how are you doing? Girlie, Akira. I'm Lionel DeLange, I'm the director of Warriors of Wildlife, a NGO that has been operating in Ukraine and South Africa for 7 odd years. Behind me you can see 7 lions that we are relocating to South Africa. It's our biggest shipment of lions yet. They're on their pallet, they're going to be strapped down, we're waiting for the aircraft to land, and then we'll be on our way.
These loaders are very brave. They have to basically, you know, wrap them around and strap down the lions, and I would be very scared to touch them because the lions are a little bit nervous. You can constantly see they're roaring, and then, like, you know, like if you're close to the cage, you might lose your finger.
Feels weird picking it up. The legacy of that shield is
where we take animals from really bad conditions, private zoos, circuses, private ownership pets, and we relocate them to sanctuaries in South Africa. Right behind me here you can see Cecil. He's the one that's created the most media attention. All 3 of these cats, Cecil, Xander and Joy, were involved in a monster court case. It's taken us 2.5 years to get to today, to get them released. They come from a very, very bad zoo. Cecil used to be a circus lion, and he decided he wasn't going to perform any longer. He was then sold to a private zoo where he lived an extremely bad life, living in horrid conditions. And then Xander and Joy were also born in captivity at the same place.
We use spreaders on base of the pallet just to spread the weight of the cages. On top of it, we have used absorbent materials just to make sure the animal excretion doesn't spill on the aircraft floor. And we have loaded the cages. On top of it, we use enough straps to make sure the cages are secure.
I just want to know that the animal doesn't need to be sedated to fly in a plane. These are wild animals.
Absolutely not, Sam. Back in the 70s and the 80s it was the done thing to sedate animals, but it can create problems with breathing, with respiration. So now the only time we sedate them is when we load them. You can get various medication to calm them down, but that would only be in extreme cases. But sedation would do more harm than good.
So the shippers are putting the lion, included crates and pallet, to see the weight and every single one for the aircraft balance.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You're very brave, man. The lion's roaring around. You're very close to the cage. Be very careful. This is the tough job. Like, the lion's like right next to you. I think this is Alex, the nervous one. You know, he's been just running around the cage since we arrived at the spot. Very nervous. It's not been a very easy moment for the lion right now. It's in unfamiliar territory. Well, the whole operation is pretty smooth. You can see in just 10 minutes, 3 pallets, 7 lions now has going inside. the front cargo hold of the 777.
Captain, as per the grooms, the desired temperature on the lower deck is 17 degrees for the animals. So 17 degrees.
We
Okay.
check the nose job.
Okay.
Temperature is set to 17 in the forward.
Perfect.
And the doors are closed.
All right. Thank you, sir.
This is a surprise. There's more crew than passengers. Why there's so many crew? How many crew today we have? 13 crew. Is this necessary, really? You need this many crew?
It is a safety requirement.
Because this is a passenger airplane, you have to operate with full crew.
Yes.
Ah, I see.
You can
Yeah.
do whatever you want now.
Will be simple, right? Will be a super easy job today. Everybody go to a crew rest and sleep.
You can sit wherever you want. We have 354 seats, so you can choose from.
Crazy flight. Crazy flight.
Good morning. My name is Christian. We just came from Milan. It's a special flight to carry these lions from Kiev to Doha. Today we'll be using runway 36 right for the
This entrepreneur brand logo was done by a top freelancer on Fiverr. Is simple.
departure. We have 4 hours and 50 minutes flight time, and we're gonna climb to 39,000 feet. Weather-wise looks pretty good, so we expect a really smooth flight without turbulence. All right, my first officer today is Mr. Rocket.
I was fortunate enough to sit right above the cargo door, so I was able to watch the loading. It was very, very quick and looked like a seamless process. The cats and I in the hold below us, and we were about to depart. We were very fortunate, first time in my life, thank you Qatar, I get to experience a Q suite.
Really strange actually for me. I was expecting a 777 freighter, but then this 777 passenger came. Wow. See, it's just completely empty. I think there's 312 seats to choose. Right now the cargo demand is so high, all the airlines are now flying passenger plane just to carry cargo. How many tons of cargo belly space you can carry?
On the belly, we can go up to approximately 40 to 50 tons of cargo can be loaded.
Wow, that's really amazing. 40 to 50 tons just in the belly.
Yes.
And how many on a full freighter?
On a full 777 freighter, the max payload we can get is 105 tons, and on the 747-800, the one which you have flown now, we can go up to 135 tons of cargo.
Yeah, queen of the sky, the best.
Yeah.
What are you doing on your phone?
I'm sorry, I left a gentleman alone in my apartment, so I'm tracking him to make sure he leaves.
You're tracking him?
Yeah, I track everybody. If the NSA can do it, so can I.
It's a relief to be on the aircraft with the lions and that we're on our way, but it was months and months, nearly 2.5 years, nearly 2.5 years of paperwork, documentation, permits, backwards and forwards to courts, getting everything finalized, and then COVID hit and quarantine issues. But it's still very stressful because we know they were okay when we loaded them, and we won't know until we get to go out, when we check them again to water and feed them. And it'll be a relief to see them. And then again, the stress will start for us until we get to Johannesburg, and the vets on that end and the other carers, everybody is waiting to take them in and get them to the sanctuaries. Until they're actually, that gate opens from the crate and they run out into their enclosures, that is when we'll be really know we're home and all the stress will be gone.
Now this is your wife?
This is Anya, my wife, who's very much part of the organization. She does a lot of, because we're in Ukraine, all the documentation and permitting is in Ukrainian. I can speak a bit of Russian, but Anya does all that administrative stuff, all the fighting for the lions, all the letters and...
Anya, how do you feel today? How do you feel now the lions is transported?
Yes, we first time move a lot of lines, it is first, and second we fly with business class, it is first time for me.
You guys need to sit together in the Q suite together.
Yes,
yeah, the double suite. Enjoy the flight. Enjoy the flight.
You watch Lion King, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, we just noticed the lions we have on today's flight have similar names. One is called Xander. We also have Nala on today's flight. Yeah, so we're really hoping the lions are having a good time. So tunatarajia simba wetu katika flight ya leo wako na wakati mwema.
こんにちは、ライオンの皆さん、カタール航空で素敵な旅を過ごせることを心からお祈りいたします。
We are in Bahrain airspace. We start our descent now. We are about 110 miles from Doha.
$100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
At 4:18 p.m. we just landed at Doha. I guess the work is far from over. This is just a transit stop. I can't wait to see the lion, see how they are doing. They'll be transiting here about 4 hours, and then they'll be on to the next flight to Johannesburg. We just arrived and get out the stairs, and now the lions are coming out quickly. They need to be quickly transit to the indoor. Temperature is quite high. Here. Hola.
Welcome to Doha to the lions. We've been waiting for them for 6 or 7 months now. We're going to bring them to our live animal station, which is literally 50 meters away, where they're going to be watered and fed.
Very stressed, you know. The animals are not calm at the moment. They're also stressed, and we obviously want to get them home as quickly as possible. But they're all in good condition. A couple of bumps and bruises, but that's par for the course, you know. They're in a metal crate flying in an aircraft, so when you land it's always an issue. All the others are drinking really well. The carer seems to be a bit stressed. Ah, there we go. Immediately going for water. That's great. Okay. Wow, thirsty. Okay, that's fine. There we go, boy.
Полечка, Поля, спокойно. Спокойно, Поля, блин. Every time when we travel, it is cats can scratch a little bit themselves because it just has not sits well when we fly. And I'm worried, of course, about them, but she will be okay.
I think the cats recognize you. He's getting very excited when you are near the cage.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe hear Russian or Ukrainian language and just.
You hear Ukrainian language.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Тихо, спокійно. Спокійно, спокійно. Поля, Поля, спокійно.
So obviously Doha is a little bit warmer than Kiev, so there's a lot of temperature difference here. This is a pretty cool unit to cool down the lion. And now the lion's been drinking a bit of water, settling down. I believe Lionel's got some red meats. They'll feed them. This is their lunch.
Sam, it shows our dedication. Huh? I'm a vegetarian and I bought 28 kilos of this for the lions so that they are fed.
They're still too stressed. There we go. Come on. Yeah, he's eating. I think he's just hungry. If they're eating, that means they're okay. No, come on. Come on. There we go. Well, you're not going to fight me for this door.
The staff were asking me how was my experience. I mean, my experience was seamless, was so smooth. That's because the staff here work day and night to make sure the charter goes into plan, the plane operating, and all the paperwork's done. There's a lot of hard work behind for all the cargo colleagues in the world, and Qatar Airways cargo. So thumbs up to you guys. You guys did a great job, not me.
Well, welcome to Doha.
Thank you. You know, just to get a quote out of some of your competitors was impossible. I don't want to mention your competitor's name. I waited 3 months to get an answer for a full quote. The quote came in at $35,000 US to transport 4 lions.
Now we're doing this. It's a humanitarian project. We make no money of it. Yes, we do a bit of PR operation with it. That's part of business. But we will do more. So, you know, we will be more than happy to bring the cat number 8 that is still in Ukraine when you're ready.
Thank you very much.
Or to do any other. We're now working on other opportunities with maybe rhinos back to Africa as well. It feels good. You know, everybody feels good at doing the right thing.
I can see the lions getting settled down. It's quite dark now. It's been a long day for the lion, for everybody. They're about to go on the second flight to Johannesburg. And Lionel will be accompanying the lion all the way, release them into his sanctuary, and promise to send us some footage. Again, I want to thank everybody for watching this video, for doing this great cause together.
Operations like this, once in a blue moon. In 25 years, this is my second or third. Because they don't come often. Because we are the obstacle. $35,000 for 4 cats, right, is the obstacle. So how many others just give up? Now that you know it's free, now that others will know it's free, hopefully, I hope my phone will ring.
It will,
You know,
and we'll help your phone. Oh, look at him.
Алекс, Нала і Цезарь виходять на велику територію. Можна? Йдіть сюди. Йдіть сюди. Цезарь. Маленькі мої умнічки. Йдіть сюди. Ти їх шатаєш. Да. Тихо. Боже, їх ще шатає після перельоту. Боже, бідненько.
Малочка і шатаєтесь.
Зараз вони привикнуть.
Ну, да.
One day.
Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another weekly dose of aviation. This plane landed too early and hit the ground before the runway. This plane was trying to take off in strong winds when it suddenly went off the runway. Luckily, no one was injured. This plane passing a car. This plane had a bird strike after taking off in Mexico. The crew then decided to shut the engine down and return to the airport. They landed safely and luckily no one was injured except the bird. This person was filming two parked planes when suddenly a fighter jet appeared and did a cool maneuver. This Boeing 747 flying low over the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
Wow.
This military helicopter had to make an emergency landing on a beach after the pilots got a low oil pressure warning. plane took off with a bunch of snow on its wing, and this is what happened. These divers jumping out of a helicopter into the water. This plane passing by really low. And that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Other sources will be linked in the description.
This beachfront Verbo is about to become part of an unforgettable vacation memory.
Well, good morning. This hotel I'm staying at is the Four Seasons Park Lane here in London. And today we're flying Emirates on their A380 in business class. Before we get started, let's back this up a little bit. This whole trip began late last year when I had a work obligation in Chicago, another in Los Angeles, and finally a meeting in London, which I'd reached through Munich. Having been on the road for only a week at this point, I wasn't quite ready to go home to yet another fortnight of quarantine and then the Canadian winter. So I decided to go on vacation in Dubai, soak up some sun, hang out with my friends, and then go home to the tundra. Our flight today will then be on the Emirates A380. Departing from Heathrow, we'll cross over much of mainland Europe, Anatolia, and Mesopotamia to arrive in Dubai some 6 hours later, covering 3,410 miles. Some of you will remember my friend Lauren,
Hey.
who's not going to be in the video. She's just here to pick up her fish.
It's vegan, all natural, gluten-free, nut-free, organic. Smoked salmon.
It's really not, and long story, not going to get into it.
Having arrived in London during the lockdown, I was only allowed to travel between the office and the hotel. But that's alright because the city was completely dead. Outside of a pandemic, however, the UK capital is one of the most visitor-friendly cities in the world, with lots to do and see. It's also quite easy to get around, and almost everyone speaks American, albeit with a funny accent. This metropolis is also the birthplace of the Underground Metro, colloquially known as just the Underground, which is not to be confused with the Overground that only exists to mess with tourists. In addition, the sprawling commuter rail and bus system makes moving around London fairly easy, but fares can get pricey and trains crowded. The city's largest airport, London Heathrow, can be accessed through multiple rail services, the Piccadilly line, and the future Crossrail Elizabeth line. With all of that said, on this trip, I didn't end up using public transit.
So one thing Emirates does is that if you are flying in business or first, they send a chauffeur to pick you up from wherever you may be, whether it be your house or a hotel. And this is true for most of the destinations that they fly to, on top of Dubai, of course. It's really easy to book. You just do it through their website. Then it's free, which is nice.
London's Heathrow is one of the busiest airports in the world by any measure, and undisputedly so when it comes to hubs with just 2 runways. Packed around these 2 consequently priceless stretches of asphalt are 5 terminals, although T1 has been closed since 2015, withering way to the slow progress of health and safety-laden demolitions. Throughout the airport, there exists a cutting-edge system of buses to ferry passengers airside between the terminals. The only complex with an airside train is T5, carrying passengers between its main and satellite buildings. Back in the good old days, i.e. 2019, when the airport was stretched to its operating limits, Emirates, along with its impressive lounge, occupied much of Terminal 3, home to its 7 daily departures during its peak. But these days, as capacity has dramatically decreased throughout the airport, the Dubai-based airline, along with many others, have consolidated to T2 as other terminals remain closed.
That was the fastest transfer to Heathrow I think I've ever done in my life.
Rather unexpectedly, Terminal 2 was apparently playing host to a toddler whaling convention. There were so many of the poor little guys having to suffer through the slow lineups at Emirates check-in. Since they're here in an ad hoc capacity, the dedicated first and business class counters were not in a separate area. The check-in staff didn't seem all that concerned with enforcing them either, or physical distancing for that matter.
Alright, just checked in. Please do forgive me if I seem to be in a little bit of a rush. I very much am. My flight boards in 25 minutes and I have yet to clear security. Although there's not a whole lot to show you in this terminal, not much is open and there is no lounge access. They do compensate you for that by giving you a £10 voucher to use at any retail store within the airport. I don't think it, actually no, it does expire today, so I don't think I'm going to be using it for anything.
I'd like to take this time to apologize for my nasally voice in the video at the time. Apparently I'm allergic to England.
Okay, security done. Wasn't that impressed. There's not a whole lot of physical distancing going on. Like people are just standing next to each other. It's almost the same kind of packed sardine situation as it normally is at this terminal. Speaking of which, not a whole lot is open. I do think there is a bookstore over there, so I'm gonna go check that out.
Terminal 2 is home to mostly Star Alliance airlines. Despite being named the Queen's Terminal, there's nothing particularly regal about it. Efforts were made to modernize it recently, but altogether, it's still kind of unexciting. Our ride for today will be on this behemoth of an airplane. Emirates is one of only a handful of airlines still flying the A380s, and sadly probably one of the last operators to keep it in as part of their fleet for the foreseeable future. But despite the massive airplane, the boarding area was quite empty, and consequently so too was the flight. On the A380, the entirety of the upper deck, minus first class, is occupied by business, with a staggering 76 seats in total. These are an older version of the Emirates Business product, featuring 1-to-1 seating in a staggered layout. It might be hard to tell on film, but these seats are incredibly spacious. Something that's not hard to tell on film though is just how much mahogany there is in this cabin. On either side of the upper deck, the window seats alternate between being closer to the window and, perhaps less desirably, closer to the aisle. Nevertheless, these are still some of the most luxuriously appointed business seats in the skies. That is, if like me, you've grown up used to the Arabian Peninsula aesthetic of interior design that follows the philosophy of throwing money at the wall. To better illustrate just that, let's do an exhaustive seat tour. And we'll start with the ottoman, which is plush and deep, really quite comfortable. It's also spacious enough to fit a small child. Below that, the footwell has ample room too, enough for any backpack. Now these are quite common on any upper deck of the A380s, but Emirates have decided that these side cubbies also have to be finished in lacquered wood. These were also very spacious, but while you can't fit a whole child, I'm sure you can get creative. In true mouchoir fashion, the windows come with motorized shutters, which were locked while we were on the ground. Coming over to this side, we have even more over-the-top novelties, including this completely unnecessary but totally appreciated tablet. There are more controls for the window shutters and drapes down here. And back here are easy access seat controls conveniently placed by the armrest. In addition to the tablet, which we'll have a closer look at later, they also throw in the Panasonic Media Remote because why not? And on top of that, there's enough I/O to run a board meeting, a reading light, and lighting controls for the mini bar. Yes, mini bar. Although mine on this flight was definitely not as clean as they advertise, and this gimmick as a whole is just a little bit less impressive considering that it's not chilled. The chair itself is an extremely well padded soft leather affair with adjustable lumbar support and headrest, proving thoroughly comfortable on this flight. Unsurprisingly, there were still individual air nozzles, and of course the flight started off with copious amounts of champagne.
Cheers! Here's to not getting food poisoning and spending an hour in the bathroom, which is what I did last time I was on one of these things. It wasn't a great experience. Oh, I think this is both. Not that I can tell from tasting it, I just read the menu. It's good though.
One thing I forgot to show you is the tray table that comes out like this as a single piece, and just FYI, the wood in this cabin isn't real. I don't think there are enough forests left in the world to furnish these planes if they were.
They remove 99.97% of bacteria, germs, dust from the air, and it's completely changed every 2 to 3 minutes.
After a brief but nevertheless reassuring lecture on how HEPA filters work, our flight, which was about 30% full, started pushing back. Alright, first things first, let's check out the Wi-Fi. EK has very reasonable prices for all of their data packets, from free messaging to unlimited internet. These days, you also get a hygiene kit on every flight regardless of which class you're in. They're impressively stocked with all the essentials, and I like how they give you 2 of everything, which makes sense for a long-haul airline. There is slightly less sense in their business class amenity kits, which barely exist as you typically just get socks and eye shades on longer flights. Their idea behind it is to not give you what you don't need, and with that you can always find dental kits in the bathrooms and ask for other amenities. But for an airline that embodies going over the top, I never truly understood this. But But going back to things Emirates do excel at, let's have a look at the menus before the food arrives. For a little while they did scale back their catering in response to COVID, but it has since returned to normal offerings, with the only difference being the absence of hot towels. And the catering is definitely not something this airline skimps on. Their wine list may be small, but it's not to say the selection was poor. Each wine I tried was well worth their weight in, high quality wine. Didn't really think that one through. Where their beverages really stand out though is the thrilling cocktail selection. This might be a Middle Eastern airline, but it's the furthest from dry. For those of you who find alcohol too haram, well, they have you covered too with half a dozen mocktails to choose from. The food was really good too, but we'll get to that in just a second. To start things off, I asked for another glass of champagne and a zesty espresso martini. These were accompanied with warm nuts, which were of course toasted. Still jet lagged, And faced with the inevitability of even more jet lag, the espresso did absolutely nothing to keep me awake, but it did taste pretty good. First up were starters, and for this I opted for the tea-smoked salmon over the much lauded meze plate, mostly because I didn't particularly want to eat with my hands. The salmon was absolutely beautiful, vanquishing any regrets in not getting the bread and dip. The accompanying salad, however, wasn't very fresh, and the garlic bread only had a mild garlic flavor. For mains, I went with the chicken curry. Curries are quickly becoming a go-to choice on flights for me. They're naturally full of flavor and spice, and it's really hard for these dishes to dry out in the oven. A perfect contender for airplane food, really. This Mulwani chicken was no different. It was in fact fantastic, and I'll definitely get it again if I see it on the menu. Winding down, I couldn't pass up the Graham's port that was made the same year that I was, especially as it came with a slice of really rich and decadent chocolate cake. And as if all of that is not enough sugar, well, they also gave you pralines. Alrighty, this seems like the right time to show you the bathroom, and I gotta say, this one is nicer than most other flying outhouses, even some first class ones. You'll immediately notice how the wood theme is carried over to even the toilet seat. And while there were a lot of toiletries, there's strangely no bidet function, which might disappoint some Muslim passengers. They did have these cotton hand towels though, which are an underrated luxury on any airplane. As I mentioned earlier, there are dental kits which you can freely take from this drawer, but on this flight, the second drawer, which is typically full of other goodies, was sadly empty. Directly outside the aft upper deck bathrooms is what some would consider
the most haram thing you will see on an airplane, especially a Middle Eastern one, is a bar. I don't know exactly how it makes sense, but I'm not complaining, because you know me, and I am a burgeoning alcoholic, and because of that, this is absolutely the best thing there is in the world.
If you had any previous doubts about just how seriously the UAE takes its secularism, I think this speakeasy in the skies can speak for itself. Outside of a pandemic, this space at the back of the upper deck is meant to be a place where the upper classes, i.e. first and business, can hang out and mingle. There's seating for the whole family and an endless supply of various liquids and solids to ingest. Back in the cabin, the lights were dimmed for the evening and the flight attendants came around for turn-down service, which in the aft mini cabin was just me. While the crew did offer to turn my seat into a bed, I wanted to film it, so I did it myself. Impressively, even on a 6-hour flight like this, there were still bedding provided, namely a pillow, mattress pad, and duvet, all very thick and plush.
Well, there's not a whole lot to say about this bed. Length is good, width is good, there's tons of room for your shoulders. It's very well designed. You can comfortably sleep on your side, your back, or your stomach if you so choose. Privacy is not an issue. You can't really see anyone walking down the aisle, neither can they see you. It's just one of the nicest beds in the business class product flying in the skies. No complaints whatsoever.
Instead of actually going to bed, I endeavored to stay up until landing to get my sleep schedule in sync with Dubai. The crew helped by kindly making me some tea, and I tucked into my book. After most of the turbulence had subsided, I decided to check out the in-flight entertainment system, which Emirates has named ICE. Admittedly, the user interface looked a little tired, and the touchscreen was kind of laggy, but yeah, lucky did they have a lot of content. If you can somehow sort your way through the countless menus and categories, then you have thousands of hours of films and television programs at your viewing pleasure. Emirates is very proud of this element of their service, as well as they should be, for theirs is without a doubt the benchmark for long-haul infotainment systems. Over in the green information menu, which stands for the letter I in the acronym ICE, you can find almost all of the details of your flight. They even tell you the aircraft registration, which might be completely irrelevant to most people, but we aviation enthusiasts very much appreciate it. Of course, there was also Panasonic's Flight Map 3D, heavily skinned in red. It comes with a handy pointer to the Kaaba on top of all the other normal functions. You can also find a section for newspaper headlines, another one to make satellite phone calls, send SMSs and emails, live television, the list goes on. Really, the only thing this system is missing is a full-on browser. In addition to the main seatback display, there's also a tablet. This serves as an oversized remote for both the IFE content and the seat itself. In order to detach it, simply press this button on the bottom of the dock. The unit itself is rather heavy, and while you can, I don't see why anyone would want to watch content on this over the main screen. To be frank, I really didn't see how this had much practical use altogether, but it did serve as a convenient secondary display for the route map, so maybe I'll shut up. Of course, you were also loaned a pair of noise-cancelling headphones. I couldn't really determine the make of these, they just had Emirates logos loudly plastered over each ear cup. They were very comfortable though, even around my extra large head. As we began our descent, the crew came around asking if anyone wanted any snacks. I opted for an ice cream because I was intrigued by what the luxury and luxury vanilla would taste like. It tasted like vanilla.
This unforgettable vacation memory. It didn't actually begin here. This memory began.
So, Emirates, what is there to say? This airline holds a reputation for being among the best flying in the skies, and I'm definitely not going to be the one to refute that. There is very little to complain about, as almost every part of their service and product is a cut above the rest. I will, however, quickly lament about the cleanliness of my seat. I'm not sure what happened on the ground in Heathrow, but my seat did not look as if it was cleaned. Overall though, it's hard not to be impressed with the response this massive airline has had to the pandemic, from the speedy reintroduction of catering with added hygiene measures, to the crew's personal protective garments that would even make the staff at my hospital envious. So it seems that Dubai's flag carrier has come to uphold that love it or hate it ostentatiousness that's come to describe this city.
Okay, thank you so much. You have a good night. Take care. Okay. Okay, I'll go in. All right, and just like that, beginning to end, they drive you from hotel to hotel. Can't say I don't like it.
That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time when I fly Etihad. But until then, safe travels and masalama.
Hi, or should I say Shanghai? No, I shouldn't say that. Anyways, keeping with the theme of filming these intros from places that have nothing to do with the flight, for those of you who are not illiterate, you probably already know what this is going to be about. So let's just jump right into this flight.
For those of you who are not familiar with this, Skyline, I'm in Shanghai this week, which marks the end of a long commute that involves circumnavigating the globe. Our journey begins 2 weeks back in Toronto with a hop across the proverbial pond. Our route takes us over the Maritimes and onto the North Atlantic tracks, flying from the colonies into the seat of the empire, London. A 7-hour journey totaling 3,540 miles. This flight is going to be on British Airways' brand new A350-1000 in their business class, branded as Club Suites. Vicarious Voyager is committed to doing its part in being environmentally friendly, so that's why I'm recycling the city and airport explainers from my last video. Toronto's Pearson International Airport is actually mostly located in the adjacent city of Mississauga. It is accessible via a network of roadways and is connected to the subway system via an express bus service. But by far the fastest way to get to the airport from the city would be the Union Pearson Express rail service, linking Terminal 3 with Union Station. There are 2 stops along the way, providing access to the public transit system. The airport itself is split into 2 terminals numbered 1 and 3. BA operates out of Terminal 3, which, despite its name, is the older of the 2 buildings. Each terminal has its own domestic, international, and pre-cleared US Customs and Immigration area. To transfer between the 2, you have to go landside and take a monorail. I know, this is genius. British Airways operates a couple flights daily out of Pearson, and when I say couple, I mean 2. Regardless, they have a sizable check-in area and half the desks reserved for priority status holders and business class passengers. Check-in was easy enough, and then it was straight through security. Fast track was available to business class passengers, and the rest was a breeze. Once airside, it was a beeline to the lounge. On the way, I couldn't help but stop and stare in awe at this sign. Uber Eats, in an airport terminal so you don't have to walk 5 minutes to the food court. This is incredible. What a time to be alive. The lounge was tucked into a corner 1 floor above departures. BA's lounge is a contract from Plaza Premium, but instead of using the main lounge, passengers were directed to this smaller, purpose-built contract space. It's staffed by Plaza Premium, but was dedicated to British Airways passengers during our departure times. It was split into 2 sections, First and Business, with Executive Gold and One World Emerald holders having access to the first class area. We had neither, so off we went to the proletariat section. All joking aside, this lounge was pretty good. It wasn't very big, but it was well appointed. The highlights would have to be these big windows that offered expansive views of downtown Mississauga, 2 runways, and the aprons. And here is a KLM A330 bound for Amsterdam, and just like British Airways, KLM is also celebrating its centenary this year. There are plenty of drinks on offer, including a fully staffed bar with wines, spirits, cocktails, and beers on tap. There was also a cafe-style communal table with power outlets and USB ports, and additional seating in the back. For a small lounge, the buffet was pretty good, with plenty of options and lots of hot food. I dare say that the food here is probably better than what you get in the International Maple Leaf Lounge over in Terminal 1. If you're feeling healthy or not that hungry, there are also snacks and flavored waters. And here is the aircraft that will be taking us to London, a 2-month-old Airbus A350-1000. A few minutes before the stated boarding time, we headed downstairs to the gate area. With there being a limited amount of space, there was only 2 queues for boarding, zones 1 through 3, and then everyone else. Boarding was conducted through one bridge, which led to the L2 door. On the A350, business class is split into 2 cabins, the main one at the front and a smaller one behind that. And here is my seat for tonight, 9A. These new suites are miles better than the old seats in BA's Club World. They are a variant of the Collins Aerospace Super Diamond seats. Very similar to those found in WestJet and American's business classes. These, however, have a door, which we will get to later. The seat/bed is comfortable, and I'm glad they use fabric instead of leather. The whole suite does feel very private, but can feel a little claustrophobic with the door closed. Let's now do a comprehensive seat tour. As always, let's start off with the legroom. Lengthwise, there was plenty of space. I'm 181 centimeters, or for you Americans, 181 centimeters, and I had no problem stretching out, even in bed mode. In terms of width, it was a little tight. Over here on the outboard side was a small cubby hole behind which you will find the safety card. And stowed below the display is the tray table, which can be released like this. It folds out to give you more surface area and is sturdy enough. It also locks into 2 different positions, allowing you to easily get out of your seat even during meal times. And it stows away flush under the screen, unlike some other variants of the seat. And moving on to the side console, push this button to access the forward cubby hole in which we will find the media controller. We'll have a more in-depth look at this later. There's also a universal power outlet and a USB charging port, as well as a trickle charge USB port and headphone jacks. Do remember to press down hard to lock the lid in place. And let's move on to the rear cubby hole. This one is much shallower, but it's kind of perfect for storing the contents of your pocket, such as phones, passports, and loose change. And let's move on to the last compartment back here. This one's kind of strange. There is a vanity mirror in here, but not much space for anything else. The magazine rack intrudes into the space weirdly, and that's about all there is to it. And while we're back here, there's this adjustable reading lamp, which I'm pretty sure many of you are already familiar with. Alright, what's next? Oh yeah, the seat controls. There are 3 physical presets for takeoff, lounging, and lay flat positions, with the rest being in the touchscreen menu, which you have to press twice to access. There are only 2 sections of the seat that you can control, the backrest and the footrest, which seems a little lackluster. And this little light control here didn't seem to turn on any of the lights in my suite. It didn't work in my girlfriend's suite either, and upon asking the cabin manager, he said it's not supposed to work. Okay. Moving on to the aisle side, there is this armrest that can be raised or lowered, and despite many other airlines using this space for storage, BA didn't follow that path. I do like the stitching, although I'm not sure if it's going to be very durable. I guess time will tell. We'll have to see how well these seats age, but I can tell you that the materials don't feel as premium as they look. Also, the inside of the suite walls are lined with this felt material, and while I'm sure it's good for absorbing sound, I would imagine it's very hard to clean. If you don't want a disease, fly economy. And also, sadly, there are no individual air gaspers. I almost missed it, but there is a coat hook. Yes, this is a coat hook. And finally, there is a door that works. Most of the time. More on this later. Hot towels were handed out, followed by a welcome drink. I had the champagne. Soon enough, we were pushing back with the cabin crew asking us to attach our shoulder straps. As we were beginning our pushback, we were told there was an inconsequential 10-minute delay to our departure due to outbound traffic congestion. But it was more of a blessing in disguise, as my camera and I got more time to enjoy the colors of the waning sunlight hitting the airport. The view from the sunset takeoff was possibly the best one I've ever witnessed, so I'll keep the whole thing in the video. If you're gonna be a bitch about it, I've kindly provided a time code on the screen for you to skip to.
Here's what we're gonna do, okay? We're gonna go west. Make them burn one by one.
This is you. Or at least it could be you. You've been island hopping through Greece with a group of people you just met who at this very moment are cheering you on as you jump off a boat, which to be honest is a little scary, but YOLO, FOMO, carpe diem, right? Right. We're EF Ultimate Break, the best way to see the world for anyone 18 to 29. We handle everything. You just travel. We've got people that do this, people that do that, and people all over the world who literally plan every detail of your trip to make sure it's absolutely perfect. We love travel. Scratch that, we're obsessed with travel, which is why we make it as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find your trip, pay over time, travel. We believe experiences are better than things, but what we really believe is that experiences are meant to be shared, like French fries. Seriously, if you're not sharing endless plates of delicious food with new friends and new places at all times, you're doing it wrong. And when I say endless, I mean endless. Yeah, that should do it. Oh, hey, that's your tour director, the true MVP of an EF Ultimate Break trip. Besides you, of course. They're with you the whole time to make sure you get to where you need to go, eat what you need to eat, and do as the locals do. They're 1 part travel guru, 1 part logistical ninja, and 3 billion parts awesome. All right, you get it. Now let's get back to the good stuff. Travel is all about expanding your horizons, trying new things, and learning a little bit about yourself along the way. But it's also about having baguette fights in front of the Eiffel Tower. So what are you waiting for? Jump!
Immediately after the seatbelt signs were turned off, a flight attendant came around to take drink orders, and then another one came by after to take meal orders. This is a cranberry blush. It's vodka based and suited me quite well. And while you can taste the alcohol, the fruity tones balanced it pretty well. It came with some warmed up nuts and nibbles. It did take a while for the meal service to begin, but then I was offered another drink, and this time I went with the gin zing. With a hint of botanicals, it was really fresh and easy to enjoy. With a solid buzz on, let me show you the Club World menu, which looks like this. The first page features their cocktails list, as well as other prescriptions to get alcohol poisoning. At the bottom are some other less exciting beverages. The second page is a pretty substantial dinner menu, and on the right side are their breakfast offerings. While British Airways do offer a book-to-chef service, unfortunately it was not available on this route. The next spread was for wines, and while I expected them to have more variety, I learned that all the choices were solid premium offerings, so no complaints here. Also inside the menu was this breakfast card, which I filled out. However, no one ever came around to collect mine, and while someone did collect my girlfriend's, and having indicated on hers that she wanted to be woken up for her meal, she never was. Understandably, she was more than a little upset. A little bit over an hour after our orders were taken, the meal service began. The presentation of everything is really good, and I particularly thought the china they used is very cool. For the appetizer, I opted for the red pepper soup, which was served at the perfect temperature, and I quite liked it. It was accompanied by a small salad and a choice of bread. I then tried a few bites of my girlfriend's prawns and hummus, and while I liked it, she did not agree with me. For the main course, I got the bison, which was braised to perfection. The potatoes were done well, but the sauce wasn't as flavorful as it looked. Still a fantastic dish. The meat fell off the bones and melted in my mouth. It was really well done. The missus picked a vegetarian option, the cannelloni, which we both agreed was pretty good. Dessert was this hazelnut praline thing, which they call a rocher, or roche, however you pronounce it. It was surprisingly light and not too sweet, which made it my favorite part of the meal. Okay, meal over, let's now go and check out the bathroom. So,
Unfortunately, after having wrestled the shutter speed into obedience and preventing anyone from having an epileptic seizure, I forgot to press the record button. So, this is what the bathroom looks like to someone who is completely visually impaired. Fortunately for those of you who are not visually impaired, Matthew from liveandletsfly.com has kindly permitted me to use his photos of the bathroom. So thank you, Matthew, and this segment will now be in the format of a PowerPoint presentation. Here we go. The bathroom was roomy, brightly lit, and spotlessly clean. There were also tons of counter space so people such as myself who bring suspiciously big cameras in here have somewhere to place them when getting down to business. There were personal care products from the White Privilege Company and even an adjustable air nozzle. There was also a toilet, which I think kind of brings the whole place together. And that concludes our bathroom presentation. Once again, thank you to Matthew for the photos. I've linked his written review of his experience on this aircraft in the description below.
Welcome to StockX, the only live marketplace for what's now and next.
If you're once again hungry after having gone to the bathroom, then you're in luck, because right next to them is this snack and beverage bar. There is an unhealthy selection of sweet and savory snacks, as well as soft drinks, sparkling water, juices, and wines. And directly next to it is this wine cooler, where you can help yourself to the champagne, rosé, and whatever else may be in here. Snacks acquired and diabetes confirmed, let's try out the in-flight entertainment. BA provides these ugly looking but adequately comfortable on-ear headphones. While they were noise cancelling, the seal wasn't very good due to it being on-ear, so I didn't end up using them. The IFE remote packs tons of features, allowing you to browse the library of content or display an interactive route map, all while content is playing on the main screen. On the topic of the main screen, it's bright, big, and crisp, as you would expect from a brand new product. The menus were big and intuitive to navigate. And despite the route map boasting myriad virtual views, there were sadly no outboard camera feeds. The movie selection was excellent, with most of the blockbuster new releases in stock, as well as a huge selection of movies from India, China, and everywhere else for the discerning international passenger. There was also an extensive library of classic and contemporary films to keep anyone entertained. You may also filter the selection by language, which is a surprisingly uncommon feature, but a very handy one for non-English users. TV shows were also available in abundance, and there was a sizable collection of British Airways productions to celebrate its centenary. In addition, there was a decent selection of games, some of which were multiplayer and you can play them with other passengers. There was a curated kids section with subject-appropriate content, and for mom and dad, a catalog of the duty-free available on board. However, a couple hours into the flight, the IFE system became very lazy. First, it started with the remote, where after pressing on a menu selection, it took a whole 3 seconds for it to register. And over on the main screen, it became quite difficult to control the player. Sometimes it would straight up refuse to register any input, and at other times it was a game of cat and mouse between my finger and the cursor. This issue wasn't localized to my seat, as a few other people in the cabin were also complaining about it, but it did seem to be endemic to this flight, as I couldn't find any mention of it anywhere on the internet. So it's probably just teething pains, and hopefully by the time you're flying on this product, everything will be resolved. Anyways, once I got a movie playing, there was really no more issues, and the pause and play button did work well enough for me to use them. I then decided to get some rest, so let's check out the bedding. Apart from the pillow, all the bedding was once again provided by the White Company and came in this very smart looking bag. The contents included this gray weighted duvet, which was very comfortable. And if that's too thick for you, there's also this very soft blanket. In terms of comfort, both lived up to its name. And finally, you also got a mattress protector. The pillow was also really big, but that's definitely not a bad thing. There did not appear to be a turn down service, but that's absolutely fine. I don't need anyone to press a button for me. I'm pretty sure this mattress cover is meant for the older seats, but it does illustrate just how much bigger the new ones are.
While it did feel cozy, there was more than enough space for my head, and because of the width of the seat and the thickness of the mattress, I could sleep on my side or back in comfort. And unlike some other variants of the seat, the high positioning of the tray table and TV screen meant that they did not get in the way of your legs when sleeping on your side. Although if I keep gaining weight, it might start to become a problem. And the door? Well, let's talk about the doors. Despite how it's marketed, in my opinion, this door is perhaps not the best idea. For one, it makes the aisles very narrow, so people passing each other in the aisle can get very intimate. Another point is that they're not very high, so people walking in the aisle can see directly into your suite, and this can lead to some awkward eye contact. And the doors themselves, well, they're quite cumbersome. Prior to landing, both my door and the one in front of mine wouldn't lock properly in the open position. It took 2 cabin crew and a 15-minute workout to secure them. During the flight, the door of a passenger a few rows in front of me also refused to open, and after a short episode of panic and 2 crew members pulling on it, it finally budged. So I mean, maybe they're more trouble than they're worth. And while I feel like I should tell you this, I myself didn't mind the door that much. Other than trying it out, I left it open and didn't feel exposed while sleeping. The bed was very comfortable and I got some solid rest. When I woke up, we were just passing the southern tip of Ireland, and on the horizon you can see the faint glow of the city of Cork. Before breakfast gets here, let's take a look at the amenity kit, which is once again provided by the White Company and comes in this little pouch. And here are the contents inside. There was a pair of very high quality socks and an equally so eye mask, and the smallest of invitations to their store. Some cosmetics and a basic dental kit. They also included a pen and some earplugs. The whole kit is not great but not terrible. I give it a rating of 3.6. A member of the cabin crew saw that I was awake and asked me if I wanted breakfast. A little while after having responded with a yes, this is what showed up. There was half a bagel with what they describe as scrambled eggs inside. It tasted good, but I do wonder as to whom was the recipient of the other half of my bagel. This muesli would have to be the highlight of this meal. It was simply sensational. If it wasn't for my social anxiety, I would have asked for another one. Who am I kidding? I don't have social anxiety. I'm here making a complete fool of myself on the internet with these videos, and I'm completely comfortable with it. The coffee was also pretty good. Wi-Fi was available throughout the flight, but despite the download speeds being fast enough to watch YouTube videos, the capped data limit stopped any attempt. The biggest package was 150 megabytes for £18 or 24 US dollars, which is very steep in the world of in-flight Wi-Fi. As we begin our approach into Heathrow, I'll use this time to share my conclusions on this flight. Firstly, the seat is solid, and you can sense that it was well thought out. It was comfortable as an upright chair, a lounger, and a bed. And despite not having many specific seat controls, I was always able to get comfortable. If you disregard the IFE system going on strike halfway through the flight, the content library is actually very impressive. The cabin crew were perhaps not completely familiar with this new business class concept, so we'll forgive them for the long dinner service and not waking up the girlfriend for breakfast, as I'm sure they'll improve. Otherwise, the flight attendants were very proactive and friendly. The door, well, I have nothing good to say about it, so I won't. If you do, please do leave a comment below and let the masses know. I was very excited for this flight, as the UK's flag carrier now offers a serious business class experience. If you have the cash or Avios to splurge, I would recommend that you do. And once again, thanks for watching, happy travels, and see you next time.
this flies on 6S 5000 mAh.
Beide, guck mal. Jo.
So this aircraft flying now.
Kommt die eine wieder mit.
Das Modell ist zugelassen, hat er vergünstigt. Lieber Till freut sich auf Michael Feuer mit seiner Also hier steht alles gerade vorne, was sich noch ansatzweise fürs Modellfliegen interessiert. Ich stehe gestanden im Inneren am Gänsehaut an den Armen. Es ist der Hammer. Schauen Sie sich dieses Flugbild an. Und Sie haben viele Räder gesehen. Das ist tatsächlich ein Einziehfahrer auf dem Modell. Das Modell hat Dimensionierung, das ist einfach nur wow. Und er hat es geschafft zu bauen und dann fiebert man natürlich immer viel zu überhaupt. Und an sich hat er immer gesagt, alles was ich bis jetzt gebaut habe, hat auf Anhieb geflogen. Hier steht aber immer noch eine Prüfung dazwischen, man kann ja nicht mal eben so viel mit mal prüfen, ob es funktioniert. Und da löst sich die gesamte Anspannung.
In today's episode, we're going to build a massive C-130, 15-foot wingspan. Hopefully it flies.
All right, guys, welcome back. And that's right, we got a very special one today. I'm super excited. Today, our good buddy John Overstreet, the Jedi Master Sensei scratch builder, in my opinion, of the world when it comes to foam board. And he brought all kinds of cool toys, including a huge prize.
All right, friends, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Josh, this is my son Noah.
Hi.
We built a monstrous cabbie from the movie Planes.
Oh, that looks so cool.
You probably also noticed that it wasn't painted. We just wanted to see if it would fly.
Yeah.
fly it did. Matter of fact, we've been flying this almost every week. Oftentimes when we have Thursday and Friday flying nights where we're teaching people how to fly, welcoming families at Edgewater, we're flying this and giving them a great show. A lot of people want to see us revisit the watermelon drop, but this time with pumpkins. So we're going to do just that. We're going to use Cabby here, and we're going to outfit him to drop pumpkins, but first thing we need to do is put an epic paint job on him.
Let's do it.
Now, typically with our smaller planes, we can just paint the whole airplane at one time, then come back with decals or paintbrushes and make it look amazing. Cabby's simply too big, but the cool thing is we have where Cabby can break down. So his nose comes off, the main body comes off. It'll break down into basically 3 pieces. We can then tape them off, spray the different colors. Then when we reassemble them, we can put the decals on and they'll look amazing. And with painting, the first step we recommend is to scuff it up really good. Whenever you scuff the surface, it's gonna give a good mechanical bond so the paint can bite into it. We oftentimes use steel wool or a red Scotch-Brite. So I absolutely love Cabby's iconic paint job from the movie. Just the simplicity of the 4 colors really adds a lot. The first thing we need to do is we need to establish the 2 colors we're gonna paint. So we're gonna first base everything with a gray primer, give it a nice flat matte gray to represent the under part of the wings, also the under part of the fuselage. It's really important that you don't rush this step and let the paint really dry. As a matter of fact, one thing we did is while we were painting Cabby, we also sprayed some test panels and we used tape to be able to
Dude, yeah. All right, so Josh is out there painting Cabby right now, and our mail came. So Stefan, you've been working with our friends over at DJI,
yes,
and they have a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline, and they gave us a sneak peek at this guy. This, for the
right when this wing is at neutral state, so that way as it flexes, this is only going to get tighter. I don't want this to be all floppy. We're going to make each side individually. That way they're exactly, conditioned for each wing. Each wing's a little bit different. So the struts are done. I'm a lot more confident now that it'll be able to haul those 10-pound pumpkins up. So there's one thing left that we're going to do. We're going to take it out to ready board runway and put her in the air. We got some batteries coming. We got to hook some batteries in there.
What battery are you using on this sucker?
Noah has it. We got a 2250 Lumineer 3-cell power in the BEC to do the servos.
Okay.
And then we got an 8000 milliamp Lumineer 6-cell to go all the way in the nose. That's why we had this extension. And then Mr. Wolmsley here made the awesome trap door for his eyeballs where we can basically reach through and then close them up.
Dude, check this out. So I'm just sitting here, not even flying. If you can see there, the Mavic Mini is just cruising right now. I'm using a quick shot, orbit quick shot, which is pretty cool. It does a full 360 and all you have to hit is go. It's actually tracking you, Josh. All right, so here's a droney quick shot. Check this out.
That way.
Got everybody in frame here. It's tracking me actually.
Forward.
You just gotta wave goodbye.
Yep, yep.
See ya.
Good communication.
And there it goes. The slow pan out.
It's moving by itself,
yeah,
dude.
We gotta put the battery in.
That's sick.
Dude, Edgewater looks awesome right now in the fall colors.
Oh yeah, especially with this sunline stuff, dude. Oh, amazing day. Whoa, hey, easy there, Tiger.
That's nice.
That's a bit bouncy slightly.
Yeah, and I bet you, oh, that's nice and light. It's amazing.
Whoa.
Landed. Cool thing is it comes with removable props, so we're good.
Well, and also the hinge props are really cool.
Yeah, it didn't do
Yeah.
any damage. First Mavic Mini crash on the internet, hopefully. Alex Zavada.
So you should have put the prop guards on there, and then that wouldn't happen because you can have prop guards on it.
Yeah, actually, they probably designed it specifically for guys like me who do stuff like that.
Well played, son.
All right, dude. So we got some pumpkins here. Look at this. We got a whole arsenal, every different shape and size. Would you guys put streamers on there?
So we're gonna start with a cluster bomb with a bunch of the small ones with streamers on them. That way we can tell which way the wind's going when we're all dodging them.
Yeah, we don't have to have a reason for it.
We don't have to
explain ourselves. This is a flight test.
We've got some big rolls of fabric we're laying out here to make big ol' X so that we have a target to shoot for. And it's getting close to go time. So Josh, how you feeling?
I'm nervous. Honestly, I'm really nervous.
Dude, you built that thing so well, you got nothing to worry about.
Well, now it looks good though.
So how many pumpkins we got in there?
I didn't count. I think
There's a lot of pumpkins, a lot of streamers.
There was 10 small ones.
This is like round 1.
There's a plethora of pumpkins in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Are you ready?
Wait, don't go yet. Let me get this mini Mavic.
Oh my gosh, that view is awesome.
That Mavic Mini in the air.
Look at his big face.
Oh yeah. He's got such a good face.
Watch out, Maddie. So I'm gonna switch it into sport mode because I have a feeling I'm gonna need all the help I can get.
Are we ready?
Ready,
Yep,
dude.
you ready, buddy?
Good luck.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
Yeah! With ease.
Look at her, she's beautiful.
Oh, what a
Still just one speed, and that is slow.
That's all we need.
She's a sleepy
Does it
boy.
feel much different?
Yeah, I do feel like I'm flying at the higher band of power.
Dude, how you feeling?
She's a lot heavier than she used to be though too. You know, about 3 pounds just in paint and bomb drop and all that stuff. So, all right, but she's up. I don't care.
That doesn't.
It
looks beautiful on the countryside here from the Mavic.
Are you keeping up with it?
Are you behind him? I'm behind it.
Is that you?
It's like you. I'm gonna keep an eye on you.
That's amazing.
Where's Maddie?
I'm right behind it, right on it.
Oh. Wow. You're both right there. Are we ready for round 1?
Okay, yep, I think we are.
You are very, very high, my friend. Yeah.
That's, believe it or not, a lot of people, there's been a lot of talk about, oh, we need over 400 feet. That right there is lucky to be 250 feet.
All right. Wow, that's great. You're coming down towards the X?
Yep, coming towards the X.
So if you don't know, we have literally a giant, like, 80-foot X out there.
4, 3, 2, 1.
There they go. Come on, that's amazing! Oh, that's, hey, look, where are they going? I don't know.
I am not accurate.
Look at that, dude. That's so cool. Oh, they're actually pretty on target. Look at this. Look at the streamers.
Way overshot.
Oh, they're
wow.
Awesome. The streamers are on top of the hill, David.
So far away.
But that's without pumpkins. Pumpkins are in the between both hills.
So here's the reality: is I would never win a war.
Well,
that was sick.
Unfortunately for us, the next pass around, you're gonna have to come closer than you thought.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, we're
No, thank
bringing.
you.
Look at the size of this thing.
Dude, that is beast mode.
I'm glad you're not fighting fires with Cabby, Josh.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Where's Cabby?
Coming on final.
Watch out, son.
Left, right, left. Oh, there he is.
That's coming in. Ooh, he's hot. He wanted to keep
There it is.
flying.
She floats for days. All of you.
American 771, please expedite your descent to flight level 300. Generic 1 Bravo Romeo, contact FT Worth Center on 124.75.
FT Worth Center, generic November 821 Charlie Tango is at flight level 220, descending 10,000 feet.
Generic November 821 Charlie Tango, FT Worth Center, continue as planned.
124.75 for generic 1 Bravo Romeo.
American 771, contact FT Worth Center on 124.75. Going to 124.75 American 771. FT Worth Center American 771 is at flight level 390, descending flight level 300.
American 771 FT Worth Center, continue as planned. American 771, contact FT Worth Center on 127.6.
127.6 American 771. FT Worth Center American 771 is at flight level 375, descending flight level 300. American 771 FT Worth Center, continue as planned. American 771 descend and maintain 16,000 feet. Descend and maintain 16,000 feet. American 771. Generic 29er, 7 contact FT Worth Center on 132.85. American 771, you are 64 miles northeast. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 right approach. Right NETTS transition. Cleared to NETTS. Generic 659er, you are 7 miles northeast. Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Expect vectors ILS runway 17 left approach. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 right approach. Via NETTS transition cleared to NETS American 771. American 771 contact FT Worth Center on 124.75. Going to 124.75 American 771. FT Worth Center American 771 is at flight level 250 descending 6,000 feet.
American 771 FT Worth Center, continue to NETS as planned.
FT Worth Center, generic Alpha Lima 229er, 7 is at 9,600 feet, descending 3,000 feet.
Generic Alpha Lima 229er, 7 FT Worth Center, continue as planned. Altimeter 29er.9er. Generic 29er, 7 contact regional approach on 133.525.
Going to 133.525 generic 29er7.
American 771 contact regional approach on 118.1.
going to 118.1 American 771. Regional approach American 771 is out of 12,400 feet for 6,000 feet.
American 771 regional approach, continue to nets as planned. Altimeter 29.9. American 771 climb and maintain 5,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 5,000 feet, American 771.
American 771 descend and maintain 3,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet, American 771.
Generic 659er, you are tree 1 miles northeast. Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 right approach via nets transition. Clear to nets.
Descend and maintain 6,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 17 right approach via NETTS transition. Clear to NETTS generic 659er.
of DFW. Contact DFW Tower on 124.15 when inbound on the approach.
Tower on 124.15 American 771.
2500.
DFW Tower American 77110 miles north, inbound ILS runway 17 right approach.
American 771 DFW Tower. Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach. Altimeter 29.9, 6 wind 155 at 16.
DFW Tower American 771 inbound ILS runway 17 right approach.
American 771 DFW Tower. Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach. Altimeter 29.9, 6 wind 155 at 16.
Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach, American 771.
American 771 cleared to land runway 17 right. Follow the generic on short final. Wind 166 at 22. Caution the generic landing runway 17 center.
Cleared to land runway 17 right American 771.
Envoy 3701, turn next taxiway. DFW Tower, Envoy Tree 5179 miles northwest inbound ILS runway 17 right approach. Envoy Tree 517 DFW Tower. Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach. Altimeter tree 0.05 wind 166 at 22. Envoy Tree 701 exit runway when able. Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach Envoy Tree 517.
DFW Tower, generic Juliet India Alpha 5, 659er, 11 miles north, inbound ILS runway 17 right approach.
Generic Juliet India Alpha 5, 659er DFW Tower. Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach. Altimeter tree 0.05 wind 166 at 22.
500.
Cleared ILS runway 17 right approach, generic 659er.
400. 300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Envoy Tree 517 cleared to land runway 17 right. Follow the Boeing B-78X on the runway. Wind 166 at 22. Caution the generic landing runway 17 center. American 771 turn next taxiway. Cleared to land runway 17 right Envoy Tree 517. Generic 659er cleared to land runway 17 right. Number 2 for landing. Follow the aircraft on final. Wind 166 at 22. Caution the generic landing runway 17 center.
Cleared to land runway 17 right number 2 generic 659er.
American 771 exit runway when able. American 771 contact ground on 130.1.
Going to 130.1 American 771.